Welcome to day 9. We are in the second day of week 2, and this is called Bless and Release Letters. I always love that phrase, bless and release, because it puts you in control and allows you to let go of things that no longer serve you, right? You just bless and release, and it's giving yourself power back. So today's affirmation is, I forgive those who have wronged me in order to live a life full of peace, joy, and love. All right, when you read this statement, who or what comes to mind as having wronged you in your life? Consider a person or a life-altering event that you would describe as having a long-term effect. You may have held on to blame, anger, and resentment, but the only one who is suffering is you. No matter how bad it may have been, you deserve to live your life full of peace, love, and joy. Forgiveness is about your peace of mind and accepting the wrongdoing as having nothing to do with you. Bless and release it. So today's activity is going to be write a letter to each person you listed and discuss how you feel about the events and you have internalized them. You are not actually going to send letters. I mean, you can if you want to, but it's really about the exercise of getting your thoughts onto paper and releasing them, not holding on to it any longer. The process of getting it out will be very therapeutic. You can do this with those who have passed on as well. So if you'll notice in the journal, there it is, and then there are spaces for 3 letters. If you need more room, you can always write these on actual paper, and you may send them, but I've done this multiple times in different phases of my life. All right, so I'm going to give you an example of something that I didn't quite deal with at the time, and I still held on to it for years later, and that was the death of my father, which happened in, it was 2005? Goodness. So long ago now. Okay, so it was a sudden thing, and there were a lot of events that occurred after his death that I never could have foreseen, and I ended up becoming the executor, the person in charge of his estate, and there was so much to deal with that I never grieved his death. And honestly, it wasn't until I started doing the inner work on what was affecting me, and it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair that I had to deal with that, and I never acknowledged that. I never got mad or upset of how things transpired after. I just was in problem solving mode. And a lot of us do that. And then we don't even realize that it's actually affecting our lives. It took me being away from it and being on this journey of personal development to really acknowledge and become aware. So yesterday we wrote the letter to ourselves. Today is about you forgiving those people, those major events that affected you. Okay, if I were to say what were the major wrongs in your life that you experienced, what comes to mind? It doesn't matter how small or insignificant. It could be a very big thing. Those of us who experienced loss, trauma, divorce, that was another thing that affected me greatly. And it doesn't matter what it is, because it's you. It's what has affected your life, because the same events could happen to you and it could happen to your sister, or, you went through it at the same time, but it affected you totally different and in a different way. So the goal here is just you can actually talk directly to the person, or whatever way you want, whatever feels good. Okay. And this can be very emotional. All right, so you can take a few days on this if you need to. You have to be in the right space. You got to be in the right mindset in order to bring yourself back, because you may have worked hard to forgive certain people and things in your life. And when you go back to that core wound, it can trigger you. All right, which is why it is important for you to acknowledge. But this work isn't always easy. All right, moving beyond the traumas and the hurts and the wounds that we hold deep down inside isn't easy. All right, so acknowledge yourself, give yourself grace, and happy, blessed, and release day. It really feels so good. Even if you are literally bawling your eyes out, which I have done as I am writing, it's just, you're releasing it. You are releasing it. All right.